An Alexander technique teacher. And today I want to talk to you about sort of a common misconception around tension, chronic musculoskeletal tension, like knots in your shoulders or low back pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, tendonitis, things like that. And why it is that these things are chronic, why, sometimes they aren't, of course, but sometimes they keep coming back no matter what you try. So what is going on here? This came up in a conversation with a former student who was speaking about some of the tension that she was experiencing and how her chiropractor had suggested that it might be that the muscles in the front of her shoulder were not as strong as the ones in back and that she should strengthen these ones. Excuse me. And I had a rather strong reaction to this. So to say, for instance, that the chronic pain that you're having in your neck or back or wherever it might be is due to an imbalance in your body is in part true. And we also have to be curious about why is that imbalance there in the first place. Your body is already exquisitely balanced. As a human being, as a biological organism, your ancestors would not have survived if their bodies were somehow malformed or inherently deficient. And this is what really kind of energizes me. I have a very strong belief that ourselves, let me say to you, yourself, your body is not inherently deficient. It is not inherently disobedient, even. It is not inherently imbalanced. Even if there are chronic problems. And this is quite an unusual statement to make. In Western culture, we do tend to view ourselves as being inherently bad. And, that we have to fix ourselves or improve ourselves in some way. And while I'm all about, self-improvement, personal growth, healing, etc., to begin with the point of view that you are inherently bad, that your body is inherently unbalanced, that will only lead to that any solutions based on that point of view will only lead to the further continuance of that problem, the management of the problem. And there are many different solutions to chronic pain or many different treatments. And a lot of them, although very helpful temporarily, and that they all have their special strengths. I don't want to put anybody down, but when you are dealing with chronic musculoskeletal tension, discomfort, pain, knots, all the itises, tendonitis, etc., then you have to, you might want to think about what's really at the root of it, rather than simply trying to manage the problem. So, for instance, to strengthen the muscles on the front of the shoulder, it isn't getting to the root of the problem. It is a pain management fix. It's something to help you manage your pain. It is not a root cause solution. And what you really want, unless you want to keep seeing specialists, for years and on end, what you really want is a root cause solution. So instead of, for instance, thinking that tension is inherent to your body, that there is, that your body is somehow malformed, or that the tension is simply a physical problem to be fixed or managed, instead of thinking that, you might ask yourself, why am I getting so tense in the first place? This is an incredibly important question, and any solution to chronic tension must take this question into account. Everything else is simply managing the problem. So, why are you getting so tense in the first place? Good question. There are a lot of reasons. So, why don't you take a moment to go inside, maybe, and call to mind a time when you typically get tense, or your body feels uncomfortable, or that joint gets kind of locked up, or whatever it might be. And ask yourself, in that moment when that's happening, what's going on for you? What are you thinking about? What do you want? Just take a moment and do that. Typically, the moments we get tense are when our resources are kind of being maxed out in a certain way. For instance, you're doing something really difficult, like playing the violin, or other sport or craft, or artistic endeavor. Or, so difficulty can do it. Time pressure, huge stimulus for tension. Time pressure. Got to do it now. Got to do it fast. What are you waiting for? And so difficulty, time pressure, complexity, having to pay attention to multiple things at once. We really aren't very good at that as humans. And social pressure can do it. Knowing that people are watching, or that somebody wants something from you, can make you tense. Really wanting to control something. That's a big one. And when you're forcing something to happen. Why would you be forcing it to happen in the first place? It's usually one of these other reasons, the time pressure or social pressure or perceived difficulty of the activity. And there's a way in which all of those are variations on one theme. And that theme has to do with what you want. What do you want, and how are you relating to what you want? Tension arises around these questions. What do you want? How are you relating to what you want? And so chronic musculoskeletal tension won't be resolved until you bring some light, bring some awareness to the things that you want and how you go about trying to achieve those things, how you relate to wanting this or that. You won't be able to really let go of the tension unless you bring some light to that and shift your relationship to what you want. So I'll give you an example. Yeah, well, we're talking about music here, so why not in playing music? So there's a tricky passage in a piece that you're working on, and what happens in your body as you approach that passage? Maybe just practicing it separately, or maybe playing along in the piece, coming up to it. Maybe you're noticing that you get tense, and maybe it's because you really want to get it right. So that's a particular way of wanting. Really wanting to get it right. Really wanting to control the outcome. Hoping that you don't mess up. Or sort of maybe even giving up on your goal. That's also a way of wanting. It's like, oh, yeah, I don't care about that. The kind of deflecting or diminishing of the importance of the goal. But that doesn't really help you get to your goal. Wanting to get it right, do it fast. It works in the short run, but in the long run, you're carrying around that tension all the time. And you're so used to it, you don't even notice it. So used to it, you don't even notice it. The same thing with worrying that you might mess up. Same thing with diminishing the importance of the goal through giving up or something like that, or pretending that you've given up. And so what's the alternative? What's a better method? Well, one clue, what doesn't work about like these more stressful ways of relating to what you want, control, doing it fast, trying to get it right. What doesn't work about those is that they fail to incorporate your whole self, basically, and yourself in time. So you can tense up and get that passage right. But if you do that enough times, then you're going to develop a habit around that and develop chronic tension in playing that section or whatever activity it is that you're doing. And then that chronic tension will, cause some discomfort, maybe even long-lasting injuries. So you really want to incorporate your future self in a way too. So you can't just prioritize the thing that you're doing. You have to also prioritize how you're going about doing it. So how you go about doing it, it does have this one aspect of thinking, including some awareness of, if I keep doing this, this is not going to be good for me. And it also has to include the whole of your body. So literally incorporating, the body, the root of that word, incorporating the whole of your body. Because what's happening in your shoulder, your neck, your back, your carpal tunnel is not just happening in that one spot. Your body is a web. Your body is a web. And everything in your body is connected to everything else. And it's not any kind of magic woo-woo kind of sense. It's just like you pull on your shirt, the whole shirt moves. Same thing happens in your body. And if that doesn't make sense to you at an embodied level, then it's only because you haven't paid attention. You can do it right now. Tighten your wrist or tighten your fist. Feel how the tension goes to your neck, back. I even feel it going down to my legs. My breathing stops. Untighten. My breathing becomes more free. My head and neck become more free. So your method has to include, your method of addressing chronic tension has to include your whole body as well. And so right now I'm going to give you a single tool that you can use that will help you make better choices about addressing chronic tension. And it gets right to the nub of the whole thing. How you relate to what you want. Okay. So for instance, if you're trying to do it fast, trying to get it right, that tension often comes from a sense of being rushed. A sense of, you could just say that. And so being rushed, being tense often go hand in hand. And so what's the opposite of being rushed? So it's having plenty of time, right? So imagine doing this passage, thinking to yourself, I am at ease with myself, and I have plenty of time. You can just take that thought in for a moment. I'm at ease with myself, and I have plenty of time. I get freer just thinking about that. And the lovely thing about this is that when you're when you are at ease with yourself, and you know you have plenty of time, you actually can get things done faster, because you no longer are dealing with the tension that has been mucking up the works. So what you want is to be able to pause. You want to know how to pause. This is huge. Huge. The single most important skill. Knowing how to pause is the single most important skill that you can learn in your efforts to reduce excess muscular tension. So let's try something. I'm going to ask you to put your arms up over your head like this. All right? Very good. You just notice what that's like. Just do it again. Okay. Now what we're going to do is have a pause. A little pause of awareness. And that's what I call it. So you're going to give yourself the order, or call up the intention of putting your arms up above your head. But you're going to pause while you think about doing that. So there's the thing that we want, put arms above head, and then we're changing how we relate to it. Instead of just going for it, with that little subtle feeling of being rushed, we're going to pause. So here we go. So call to mind the intention of bringing your arms above your head, but don't do it yet. Just notice yourself and give yourself a pause. All right? While still having that intention in mind. And then, when you're ready, go ahead and do it. All right, let's try that again. So you're going to put your arms above your head. Pause first. Just pause. And then do it. Oh, I wonder if you notice a difference. You can make this pause as long as you need. That habitual gripping will subside if you give it some time. You can also make these pauses incredibly short. Like so short that your audience wouldn't even hear it if you were putting it into a song. But you know that is there. The skillful use of pauses in practicing and performance, the benefit of that is immeasurable. We'll have more on that. But today, first, just practice having some pauses before you do something. Before you get up out of your chair, just pause for a moment. Notice yourself. Notice your surroundings. And then get up. Try it. Try it in your practicing. Right before you leap for that high note, pause. Practice the pause. It will get shorter over time because you won't need it as much. You won't be gripping as much. But pause as long as you need to not be tense when you go for that high note. Okay. That's all for now. Please do subscribe to this channel. Get lots more little talks and guided body meditations and news about the Soulforce Music School. All that and more. Okay. See you next time.